All right, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome again to Greenwald's Coffee Break on the Workplace Wellness Survey. This is a survey that is conducted annually by EBRI, the Employee Benefits Research Institute, in partnership with Greenwald. The survey includes about 1,500 American workers, mostly full-time, some part-time. In recent years, the Greenwald EBRI studies have featured oversamples. In 2023, our oversample was of caregivers, those helping with activities of daily living and instrumental activities of daily living, not necessarily caregivers in the sense of parents. It is a robust survey that takes about 20 minutes. We fielded in the summer. The study released their materials on Greenwald and EBRI's websites, released in October. So you can find additional information on our website. And as I mentioned, the oversample, I'm reminded tomorrow is Veterans Day. Our oversamples for 2024 for the Retirement Competence Survey and the Workplace Wellness Survey will be active military and veterans. So looking forward to that. They really did enjoy, I think the team at Greenwald really enjoyed doing the caregiver focus this year, and I don't think we're done with it yet, so more to come. I am joined by Greg Hirschberger and Sarah Rubenstein, and they both focus on health and benefits research here at Greenwald. They're going to walk us through some findings about mental well-being and mental well-being as it relates to workplace well-being. Greg, if you could take it away.
We're actually starting with Sarah.
Yeah. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. As Lisa said, a lot of this focus is going to be on the mental well-being questions. And so one thing that we asked the workers is to rate their level of concern about different aspects of well-being. And as you can see here, we have 2 in 10 that are highly concerned about their mental and emotional well-being, which is down from last year. Sort of in comparison, similar shares saying the same about workplace well-being, and a little bit less at 14% saying that they're highly concerned about social well-being. We unfortunately don't have trend for those two, but it will be interesting to see those moving forward. Another question that we asked of the workers was to cite who or what has the greatest impact on their overall well-being. Some were asked about positive impact, some were asked about negative. What we see here is that net impact, so positive minus the negative. Friends and family stand out as having the greatest positive impact, while company culture, all the way at the bottom in red, had the greatest negative. And so sort of their personal life, greatest positive impact, things around work, colleagues, supervisor, that company culture had that greatest negative impact. We also asked about certain feelings and emotions, especially with work and well-being, and how often they were experiencing it. Sort of on that positive side, that pride, that social connection with colleagues, pride in their work, they're feeling it pretty often, about 6 in 10. But half also say that they are often and almost always experiencing stress. So sort of that double-edged sword going on. They're prideful, but they're also stressed. And we also asked if they feel that their mental health and their well-being is negatively impacting their work performance. More than half agree that this is happening. And we see that this is also tied to their job satisfaction. So those who are dissatisfied with their job overall are more likely to say that their mental health is negatively impacting their work performance. So satisfaction with job and that mental health both sort of connected there. Now we're going to look at some of the employer efforts that are happening around this mental well-being. So 8 in 10 say that their employer has a responsibility to make sure that their employees are mentally healthy and doing emotionally well. At the same time, 2/3 feel that they would be comfortable with employee-provided tools or resources to manage their mental health. So what employers are saying are that the employer has a responsibility and they would feel comfortable if their employee gave them those tools and resources. Similar share saying from last year. But what we are seeing different from last year is that only 20% of employees feel that their employer increased the efforts to manage their overall well-being versus 3 in 10 last year. So that went down. And what we also saw is that those who say that their employer has done a good job helping to improve their mental health and well-being are also more likely to say that their efforts have increased. So doing a better job, efforts have increased, both connected. We also asked the employers to rate their employee, we also asked employees to rate their employer efforts to improve their well-being. This is sort of a trend that we were seeing throughout, is that the percent saying that their employer doing an excellent job has gone down, while fair has gone up. So those extreme scores going down, and we're sort of seeing that shift in the middle. So as you can see, that's what those arrows represent. Excellent job went down from 18% to 11%. And about same shares are saying the same about efforts to improve workplace well-being, but we don't have trends there. Another place where we're seeing, as I said, sort of that decrease in the extreme and increase sort of in that middle fair group. Employee communication around mental health has dipped compared to last year. So that's that 14% saying that their employer communications, like it's an excellent job around the mental health and workplace balance.
Wonder if those dips may have something to do with employers taking, their foot off the gas a little bit with the quote unquote official end of COVID. And maybe, not pushing some of the mental health and work-life balance pieces as much as maybe they did in the height of it. Also could be something around, return to office policies. Although, Sarah, I know that you did look into that a little bit, and we didn't really see too much in terms of differences between remote workers and those who are actually in office.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a great point. Could be that the resources are changing, sort of, we're in this weird position of a lot of things changing and people going back to work, as you said, or not back to work, but back to the office in person.
Sure.
That's a good point.
So moving on, we'll take a look at specific mental health benefits in the workplace. We asked if mental health programs are more or less important to offer now than a year ago, and about half say that it really is more important to offer now, which is interesting. It kind of goes against what we were just talking about with maybe employers taking their foot off the gas. It's less important to keep in mind mental health pieces, given that the pandemic is essentially past. But employees are saying that the official end of the pandemic didn't necessarily stem the demand for these types of services. 54% say it's more important to offer them now. Only 6% saying it's less important to offer mental health wellness programs than a year ago. Overall satisfaction with the benefits package, and this is the benefits package as a whole, not specific to mental health benefits, is okay. About 80% are saying they're at least somewhat satisfied, although that somewhat satisfied bucket is fairly large at 38%. And again, we're seeing a dip in the share saying that they're extremely satisfied. We're down to 11% from 15% last year. And then going back a couple years ago, that was up at 20%. So that's almost been halved from 2 years ago, the share saying they're extremely satisfied with their employee benefits package. And now, I can direct your attention to the little table on the right side. The share that's saying they're extremely or very satisfied with their benefits package overall is actually increasing with the number of mental health benefits that are offered. And those who are offered at least one mental health benefit are almost 3 times as likely to say that they are extremely or very satisfied with their benefits package overall, compared to those who are not offered mental health benefits. Now, there could be some more things at play than simply mental health benefits there. I think if there are going to be mental health benefits offered, there are probably other benefits offered. For example, your health insurance, you're probably more likely to have additional mental health benefits if there is a health insurance offering, although most employers are offering health insurance. Those mental health benefits that we looked at there are expanded mental health benefits access, access to a health coach or a healthcare navigation service, and then resources and tools to help you improve your mental health. So they aren't super specific, but we did find that the more people who select, the more benefits that are selected, that are offered on mental health, the more satisfied folks are with their overall benefits package. So these are the 3 benefits referenced on the last slide. Fewer are saying that they are currently offered expanded mental health benefits and access to a health coach or a care navigator compared to 2022. So we see down to 30% on expanded mental health benefits and down to 25% for access to a health coach or health care navigation service. Additionally, fewer are using the benefits when they're made available to them. Decreases in all 3 tested, down from about 50% to 40% or 30% in some cases, which I think is pretty interesting, given that we saw 50% say that it's more important to offer these benefits in the past. So if they're offered, why aren't they using them? More to come on that in a second, but on the far right here on the slide, among those who are not currently offered each benefit, there's pretty high interest in having that made available to them at 70%, roughly for all 3, saying that they would like those to be available to them. So one hypothesis as to why those benefits aren't being used, well, maybe people feel like they don't fully understand the benefits that are being offered to them. We don't see significant differences here compared to 2022, but you do see directionally, and this is across not just mental health benefits, but other benefits that are available to employees, that benefit understanding went down a little bit on benefits resources that are available for financial well-being, emotional well-being, and voluntary or supplemental benefits. We asked which of these benefits would be the most valuable improvements for their employer to make. And mental health comes in, in the upper half here. Obviously, number 1 is going to be a greater financial contribution from your employer. Everybody wants to be paid more, and that's up significantly over last year, maybe a result of, the inflationary pressures that we faced and kind of economic difficulties. I don't remember the exact number offhand, but I think it was around 20 or 30% of the population in this study says that their firm has experienced layoffs or downsizing in the past year. So definitely looking for a greater financial contribution. But then behind that, there's financial well-being and the ability to use PTO to buy other benefits, so PTO conversion. But just behind that, 27% are saying that they would like more benefits or resources to help with mental health. So let's take a look to wrap up today at work-life balance. We asked, aside from income, aside from compensation, what do you value the most from an employer? Number 1, work-life balance, way up over last year. Number 2, flexibility in work-life and work schedule, which can be related to work-life balance, and generous PTO benefits. Again, we're talking about balance. Those are the top three, and all three of them are significant increases versus prior years. Noteworthy, I think, is that it's higher than quality retirement savings benefits, higher than quality healthcare coverage. Work-life balance, very important to workers right now. So what does that mean? What is workplace balance, and what aspects of your workplace contribute the most to your sense of it? Top responses are hours worked per week, followed by work schedule flexibility, and then amount of paid time off. And obviously meaningful work, doing work that you enjoy. So how do people rate the work-life balance at their company? Scores are down a little bit in 2023 compared to 2022. Again, following kind of the same pattern that Sarah was mentioning earlier in some of her metrics, it's the excellent ratings going down and the fair scores going up. And again, we thought maybe this was related to return to work policies, but we looked into it. We didn't really find the evidence for it in the data. What we did find is that those who have less concern about their mental health are more likely to rate work-life balance highly. And the inverse is true. So those who say their work-life balance is fair or poor are more likely to have high concerns about their mental health. So basically just saying that mental health and work-life balance are inextricably linked. So that is our deck for this morning. We'll pause here, and if anybody has any questions, comments, or theories really on why we're seeing some of the things that we're seeing in the data, we'd be happy to discuss.
I'll offer one observation to potentially get us started. I find it very interesting that we see pride in work and doing work that's meaningful rise to the top of some of these lists. The flip side of that, though, is that company culture, supervisors, and coworkers are having a net negative impact on people's overall well-being, right? So it's the type of work, right? Not the workplace, to me, is how I read that. And I wonder if that is a little bit of new normal post-pandemic. I like my work. I like what I do. I just want everyone to leave me alone sort of sentiment.
Right.
I also think it's really interesting to see the use of those mental health benefits go down, right? Despite the fact that there is clearly need and a majority saying they'd be comfortable using employer tools. So I think you're on to something, Greg, saying maybe it's they don't understand.
Yeah. And I think that especially when it comes to mental health benefits, you can get it from so many different angles that it makes it particularly complicated. Like your health insurance plan is obviously going to have something that can be accessed, but then you have your EAP, and you also have employers who offer separate third-party carve-outs, and there are just so many questions about, well, who do I go to for what? How many visits do I have with, say my therapist through my health insurance versus my employer offered third party versus an EAP? Are they in the same network? Are they not? And I think it could just lead to making things a little more convoluted for the end user.
Hey, thanks for sharing this information. It's very interesting, and some even surprising results. Like I'm surprised to see the remote hybrid work be so low on that list of things that have an impact on work-life balance, because that's what everyone talks the most about is impact on work life. Hybrid remote is fifth from the bottom, which is a little shocking. Counter to buzz, I'd say, that seems to be present out there.
Mhm.
Wanted to tease that out, right? What was it? What was work-life balance really? Talk about a buzzword, right? And I think, you know, I think what we saw was flexibility, right?
Yeah, what you would think hybrid remote is another form of that, but I guess maybe another question too, because at the end of the day, benefit administrators are constantly wrestling with how to optimize the benefit spend, and there's always, way underutilization and, and under maximization of the benefit investments. Uh, did you get any sense of like these are sort of soft feelings, like I feel better about my work-life balance or not, but you get any sense of, hey, I would be willing to seek another job for better work-life balance, or I would be willing to stay at my current job because of some combination of these offerings? Did you get any insight around that?
Lisa, did we have those questions in here? I want to say that we had something similar to that.
It's not a trade-off the way you just phrased it. What we've asked for many, many years is if you are thinking about a new job versus staying at your current, what are the most important benefits? And some of them completely as you might expect, right? Health insurance has sat at the top of that list for all the years we've been asking it. Retirement benefits follow. And a couple of years ago, using a split sample, we introduced PTO and remote work onto that list. And PTO displaces everything below health and retirement. So the three big buckets are health, retirement, and paid time off.
Interesting. So the work-life balance, is important for helping your employees kind of feel better about where they are today, but it's, when push comes to shove, maybe it's not as big a driver in terms of talent retention or attraction as those other benefits.
I think so. There's an element of company culture, right? It actually didn't show up really high on this list, right? On the screen
Yeah.
we're looking at now. But given its true negative impact, its net negative impact on one of the earlier slides, right? One could also argue that hours worked per week, ability to actually disconnect when you have paid time off, right? And the amount of paid time off, those are also components of culture.
Mm-hmm.
So we've never put company culture on the most important benefits list, but I think this would suggest that it's probably pretty important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It also speaks to burnout, right? These are things that will burn us out.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why when we ask those questions about how frequently are you experiencing certain emotions, I very purposely wanted to tease out stress, which we all say we're stressed all the time, right? It's very generalized. I wanted to tease that out from something that might be more diagnosable, right? Something where you may really need to be seeing a doctor. So we have that line item of depression or anxiety, and it's actually pretty high, the share who say they're experiencing that. And I was curious to look at things, Greg, like how that related to stress. Yes, there's generalized stress, but there's still a lot of people saying they often feel anxiety or depression. That's one's burnout and culture. One is really mental health.
On the bright side, pride in your work and social connection with colleagues are at the top half of this list.
Any other questions or thoughts? Anything surprise you? Right. Well, as I mentioned, I'm sure there will be more to come. We will be rolling out a detailed analysis of the caregivers oversample in the coming months and chatting about that and moving into 2024 already. So thank you all for being here and hope you have a great weekend.